It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness. By giving will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are a clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle, which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 218th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, April 5th, 2018. I'm your host, Rick Crammond today, and once again we will have Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And today promises to be a very special and exciting day in the workshop. And Mr. Keshe has some special announcements and exciting news for us to hear today, I understand. Is that true, Mr. Keshe? Are you ready to deliver today?
Good morning, you. Yes, good morning, good day. As usual, whenever and wherever you listen to the Knowledge Seekers program. Yes, I don't know what you're talking about, but maybe we have some good news, some bad news, depends which side of the fence we all sit. As usual, the Keshe Foundation is on a path of progress. We are not changing our course. We've been resolute in changing the course of humanity, and in a short time, we'll see more and more. If we go back onto what Keshe Foundation has done, and in becoming part of the structure of independent scientific researchers, we have proven a lot. You got to realize what I have done with all of us as knowledge seekers. Very quietly, very consistently, very proudly, all of us I walked you through to become knowledge seekers. Seeking knowledge was not just to do a GANs or make a plate. Seeking knowledge was to encourage and enlighten the man to start thinking on his own. Very much the GANs and the pads and everything else was a game to make you start thinking, I can, I'm capable, I am part of it, I don't need to be told, I can judge independently, and is in the writing, independent investigation of science is the obligation for every man. We have to, and in a very small but very solid way, I created a condition that everybody participate, the young, the old, man, woman, scientist, every path of life and belief got involved. Jews, Christians, Muslims, Baha'is, Zoroastrians, Buddhists and the rest. As a teacher, I taught at the capability of all of you according to your own knowledge and strength, and as from the beginning. Everybody takes from this technology according to their intelligence. But one thing I didn't tell you was that you're all intelligent and you're all the same. Because the soul of the man does not have a little intelligence. It was to get you interested, to get you understand that I have a soul. I am the decision maker of my own physicality and destiny. Not only in what is been predestined as my shape, physical body, but in my future, in what is to come. What has been very interesting for me is, in so many ways, I took all the blames for the failures, that my students be proud they've done nothing wrong. But in many ways, we all have been successful in developing things and doing things. One of the first things we did, if you go back, was to get many, many people interested in what is the hunger for man, which was energy. If you remember, we started with a blueprint for energy, the Magrab system. It brought a lot of people, created a lot of interest. Many people start doing it and they benefited by it, and many people because of it got gathered and got to know about the technology. It took 2 years, since past time, over 2.5 years. We put them in the market, you made them, you made teachings and everything else. Then we gathered more strength. People got to know more because of the path of the hunger for energy. They got to know the technology. They got to hear about the technology. In this process, we taught a lot and we discussed a lot. At the same time, we opened the eye of the man to the soul of the man. The success in any teaching is participation, not listening, especially when it's scientific. Many of you made ganses, many of you made pens and everything else. But at the end of it was for you to understand you are all the creators. You can create everything under conditions you want. If you remember, in 2012, I gave the totality of the knowledge on a key to the governments. And if you remember, the greed of governments did not share none, but they did a lot of research in the background. 2 years later, I opened the key to all of you. Many joined, many read, many did, many learned from it, and many governments set out to do what they could to develop different aspects of it. The biggest dilemma came when we started the medical application to be opened up, when all of us could benefit by it. In this process, many of you learned a lot about yourselves and the behavior of your body. But by opening the pattern, which was cry of many people, is shared it with the government, not with us, created a mayhem for the foundation for a long time. In that process, it was good because it brought a lot of things forward. It brought research in space, energy, food, agriculture, and every other aspects of the technology. Now, as I said, I never promised you heaven, but I promised you I'll take man to space. If you notice, up to now has been the pattern of going to space, elite to nations who could afford it and could cheat and could do whatever to get the knowledge to get out, to say they are more superior than the others. We've seen the stupidity of NASA operation, and we've seen the intelligence of the Russian space program. We've seen the lies we heard through American organization, space organization, that they lied one after another to us, what they've done in the space, and we have to come understand 99% of it is nothing but what I call clear white lies to cover what they could not do to show they are superior. We've seen in recent past, Chinese have joined the space program. We've seen Russians are literally being the leader in the space from day one. The Americans took a murderer, what I call one of the most heinous men on the earth, and they made him the head of the program. And that program, because of what he was carried, went to the same way, doomsday. Man Brown, we know what he did and what it was the outcome of it. Russians took the most intelligent, but the understanding of the technology, and they advanced very fast in the space technology. We've seen in the past, recent past, Iranians have joined the space program with a massive space program, spaceship program, and others. Indians are not far behind. They are doing their best, but financial restrictions has made it forbidden for them to go far. So the space has become game for very few who could have the knowledge, but still used to do what we did with the birds. No further than what we do with the birds. And what we've done, we've taken the energy from the bird and we put it in one bag, and we have seen where it's gone. My thoughts are very clear in what I've done and what I'm teaching you and what I'm about to say. As you all know, we've been teaching the space technology to all of you. I opened the book of science to the Iranian government exactly 10 years ago, when I was approached by the Iranian government to take the space technology to Iran and launch the Iranian spaceship program. For 10 years, I sat on the sideline watching when the knowledge would be shared and for what purpose. I stayed in Tehran for first 3 weeks, signing an agreement that my technology cannot be used to harm no one. And the Officer of His Excellency, the President of Iran, signed the agreement. And we launched the technology. But what saddens me, the technology has stayed in the hand of very few. Little bit of it has been shared with the Russians, which they expanded it. Little bit of it has been shared by the Chinese, which has been confirmed to me personally, face to face. And they are proud and thankful for what they have received. I respect the office of the Chinese government, and for that reason, I see the time has come to change. In 2012, we gave the key of the patterns and the knowledge to governments they did not share. And when we opened it, we all shared. We did not hide anything. And openly we became stronger and we shared more. Even though they made a lot of threats of us against a lot of us. They poisoned to kill me. They blew my car up. High speed chase and shooting on the motorways of Belgium. All has been part of the exciting part of this life. But, as I said, we shared everything clearly. And for that purpose, we gave the government 10 years flight time lead. That flight time lead is over. On the 14th and the 15th of April, 10 days from today, we'll go to the same patterns we did with the health and with energy. The Spaceship Blueprint Day is announced on that day, and in those 2 days, we do exactly the same as what we did before. We open the knowledge of the space, part of it we know, part of it we don't, and all of us race towards flight. Now, we become the control of our lives in the space. The foundation will provide every facility that every one of you can produce a spaceship. We share knowledge, and openly you share knowledge back with us. That's been the ethos of the foundation. We start at 10 o'clock on Saturday the 14th Central European Time, and we'll look at every angle. The flight is not just a flight. To fly and be hungry is no good. To fly and not knowing how to create energy is no good. To fly and not knowing, if you come across a position of pain and suffering, how to sort it out. So the 2 days, we can go even to 3 days, will be a collection of understanding how different aspects of technology now applies in the space. And then will come somewhere during the 2 days to flight system, how we see it, how the structure is getting built by the Keshe Foundation scientists, and then it becomes on to you to start the race. Now the race is with a one nation, one planet government, which is us, with what I call local governments, which is nations. We take our decision to become one nation, and rapidly we develop. Is the burden on all of us. We will open all the channels that every single one of us can build a spaceship. The system to give us the freedom, the choice is ours. And as we say, when there is a hurricane, everybody takes shelter and finds a way to survive. And this is that time. We are not making any predictions, but we are fulfilling the promise. The man to be free in space. From next Saturday, Sunday, you have two choices. Use the physical structure, aircrafts, magnet systems, combination of whatever you see. Learn from the masters of the Keshe Foundation Space Technology. Or those of you who understand more and have understood more, use the space of your soul. Not many of you will achieve that point, because the clarity of soul is the demand of the existence in the universe. What we call full transparency of the soul to the man itself. So, next Saturday, 14th and the 15th, is the time when we start teaching the spaceship program technology openly. You will see what Keshe Foundation scientists, which is most of you and all of you, have developed in which direction. I have asked to be a full open transparency on us, on aspects. The teams in the background which are working. If you have developed the technology, get back in touch with the Keshe Foundation. There is a link on the screen as you see. It says, we are ready to open the space to mankind. 14th of April 2018, the day of motions. We need to take the step to stop a lot which is about what governments, feeble governments have planned to do. Through opening up the space, this way, ah, what we said is fulfilled. It wasn't a promise, it was a deliberate act to eradication of the borders. Those of you who can fly, those of you who create the condition of flight, now the governments have to accept there is need for a common ground, universal balance. And with it, it'll take you some 6 months to 12 months that we will see the first departures from this planet. Keshe Foundation team is there to support and will be open and transparent. You have to understand, as you seen wealth coming to different nations, they start traveling around this planet in what I call huge numbers over past decades. We will see the same. But at the end, we all go back home. We do not expect to lose many, but we expect to have many travelers. As we've seen in 1970s, was the Arabs which were traveling around the world, and then was the Japanese, and then we saw everywhere we went was Japanese writing, and then it became another lot, and now it's Chinese, and God knows the next step will be the whole human race traveling everywhere. By the teaching which starts, by sharing which starts next Saturday, we see the need for new regulations and rules, transportation, international conditions of travel, new conditions for literally understanding that we have to be correct in conducts and operation. As we've seen at the present time, when we finish our sightseeing trips, we go back home. We go around the Europe, we see from Eiffel Tower to London Bridge to Colosseum in Rome, but we all end up back home. It was a nice trip. We saw new things, and the next trip is to South America, and the next trip we go to see the wildlife in Africa. Nothing will change with the man. We still do this, but next time we go to see the planet Mars and what happens in the other galaxy. But we all come back. Home is Earth. We have to understand the time of maturity of man has come. And when in time we learn to be peaceful, universal community, as it's been open to us, will communicate and open the channels. Then we'll see galaxies and universes, not on the planet Earth spaceships, but by collective of spaceships, conditions and parameters. So, in so many ways, next Saturday the 14th and Sunday the 15th is exam day. And we all need to graduate. Some of us graduate as team, some of us graduate in a specific way and condition for us. No one should be proud that I achieved this, because collectively we have trained each other, we have taught each other. And as it says, arrogance of knowledge should be buried in the deep oceans of this planet. We should not be arrogant, we should share completely, and at the same time understand some 10% of the world population will be interested in this. But others still want to carry on with their lives, to be with their wives, to be with their children, to still have that little corner shop. Some still strive to be the heads of organizations, and some still try to hold on to the seat of leadership. But in a way, by changing the condition as of next week, the whole structure of the running of this planet moves into the hand of the Earth Council. It will move because it's alternative to one nation, it's collectively one nation, and we will see the world leaders become more or less the counselors of the bigger structure within the structure of the Keshe Foundation, and the same with the Universal Council. We established the coins. This is there, and it was one of the cornerstones of the completion of this program. We gave it 2 or 3 weeks to settle, and as you will see, the coins will become national reserve for many nations. They'll become national reserve for councils of nations. We'll see one of the best things with this will override the walls which are planned to be built. What is the use of building a wall when you can be in Washington in no time from Mexico City? As they said, many of us with a tin pot pan will be sitting in front of the Washington, the White House. Next day we travel to Moscow to see what is there, and the day after we travel to Red Square to see what the beauty of China. The world leaders have to move. They have no option as of today but to open the gates and start what we call one nation unification. They'll still be busy with their own plans, but once many of you start traveling, it'll force the condition. And this is what we are here for, to force condition of peace by demolishing the borders. Man-made borders for those who want to rule a bunch of people. Now man has become unruly because now the border is the atmosphere of this planet, not the imaginary line of this planet, which they have decided, which they have changed according to what they could spare and kill. By demolishing the borders, what we promised, the peace will come, because there is no use fighting for what doesn't exist. The currencies will collapse into one, as there is no exchange rate to be better than the other, to value more. This is why we put the one coin in. That we established the Earth Council as one government for planet, and the coin was essential to be as that part. It is our job. We have established the one nation, and with it will come peace. It was a clever way to do it, but it's done. We have the knowledge, we have the technology, and we have the result to see this through. Those of you who were happy with your millions, stay with millions. Those of you happy with your tens, stay with your tens. But in totality, the mankind, as has been my wish, has moved into the peaceful dimension. We will work together. The channels of the Keshe Foundation teaching opens up more rapidly, and once the Keshe Foundation members and the members of this planet start moving, we start teaching you about what I call universal community in depth. The language, the ambassadorialship, the understanding of the operation, the interface interaction that we do not lose many, how we become accumulated to become one race in the universe. Teachings will carry on in a very much same, but much in depth, but understanding of the soul. Those of you who have reached the level to switch, will switch that you don't need a spaceship. You can expand the dimension of your life according to your own position. Every soul has the capability to become a sun and position itself accordingly, and then manifest itself at that point. Not many will reach this point, because it needs a lot of clarity of soul, as I've said before. So, our date for freedom of the man is April the 14th at 10 o'clock Central European time. And number of people have been trained to be Mojans. Your time starts. You've been taught enough. Now is your graduation. You have to be shoulder to shoulder with the Earth Council members, with the Universal Council members, and go back in what you've been taught while you were with me for those weeks. Reflect, and now you teach. Now what you've been taught and with what you have understood with teaching with those who take into space will complete the whole structure. You thought you know not, but you understand you know a lot. It's five of you, and in that structure you support five members of the Earth Council. Now you understand your position. And in that process you learn. You learn how to guide mankind through what you have learned from us during the time when you were in Accra with me, and then when I flew you to China to stay with me. The trip was to show the nations don't exist, and I hope you understood. In this process, we need to go further and understand more. Even though we know a lot, we know not much, because the knowledge of universe is unlimited. Many of you who endeavored to understand the technology took to different aspects of it, and you became specialized in it. Use your speciality and bring it out. If you have endeavored to do a flight system, get in touch with the Keshe Foundation, and we give you a point to show what you've done and what you have achieved on the 14th and 15th. We have preset a program to follow, but in cases we allow people to come in to show. It's collectively moving on. We open the full blueprint of a spaceship program. I wonder how we collectively will change the position. As I said, the condition has come. One or two and the third group of Keshe Foundation team have managed to achieve what we call theoretical wind flow. The wind flow is the backbone of completion of a knowledge. How you change the magnetic field will give you a structure, will give you energy, will give you food, will give you medicine and materials as you need, as you wish. This was a crucial point. The creation of variety and diversity in gravitational magnetic field flow, which gives the magnetic plasmatic wind. Now you understand why it was so important. When there is no variation, there is no movement. When there is a gradient and variation, it creates a wind, a flow. And you needed that plasma flow, that you have the combination of all the strength of the magnetic fields, that you could create everything you need from it. From submatter to matter to the speeds of light and beyond. Now you understand why it's so crucial. As some slows down, or we force it to slow down, we'll come to the visibility of the matter state of gans, which gives the physicality of the spaceship. Some will become at the speed that create the condition of protection, and some in the internal flow become energy low level enough that it can be absorbed by the soul of the man and not by the physicality of the man. The space feeding time is very much different than what we are used to in the planetary system. When you travel in the depth of space through the conditions of the plasma transformation, you feed the soul and not the man. And then the soul decides how the physicality will manifest itself according to the condition of the environment it's in. We know this very well. When the soul of a child, to satisfy the condition of the area, and the parents will come of a brown skin in Africa, of the white skin in Europe, and of what we call yellow in China. It's the condition of the satisfaction of the fields of the environment which gives the physicality, and not the physicality dictates the soul. And in the space, what we will produce will feed the soul of the man. And then you understand when you can feed the higher level, then the higher level decides how to manifest itself at the lower level. This is one of the keys to travel in deep space. Many of you will understand this very rapidly. And in that process, you will find out that the body will dispose of its what doesn't need in the magnetic field system more than the matter states as we do today. The confirmation of the existence comes through the soul of the man and not through the physicality of the man. So what happens when you take into these spaceships? Hunger is never considered because the soul is fed. The way the soul decided the face and the shape in the womb of the mother, now the womb of the mother becomes the spaceship, and the feeder becomes the dimension of the fields within the structure of the ship, which feeds the soul of the man. That might have shocked a lot of you if you understood what I've just said. Those of you who were worried how you carry food, and how you warm yourself, and how you clothe yourself to cover yourself, you'll find out that the decision will be made by your soul and not by your physical dimensions, which has been the biggest fear of the man. Once you feed the soul at a higher level, the way we have seen it by reducing in its strength has become laughter, joy and physicality. This will be done the same. We feed the soul of the man in the depth of the spaceship of the future, not the physicality of the man. But if the man decides to have a situation where he wants to eat, the desire will be fulfilled by the soul of the man. Now you understand why I have no worries to feed you in the space. The field strength within the spaceship will feed the soul, and the soul will feed the physicality. Now that you enter the realm of universal community and knowledge, you need to know the truth. Unfortunately, there is no WCs for nowhere in space. We have seen none, as we haven't seen no church. We will not see white man only who dispose of what they don't need. Churches, mosques, and WCs don't exist in space and shall not. So you conduct yourself through the soul and through the understanding of the condition of the universe where the soul wants to manifest itself. This way you will see, as we said, man will not find any more prophets to believe in, because the soul of the man is the prophet of the man. Now I can open your eyes to a slightly bigger dimension than what you thought is there. Now you understand why there are no churches and no mosques and no temples. Because the soul of the man is the creator of the totality of the man, and will be fed accordingly. This is why the universe is peaceful, because the soul cannot go out to harm no one, not even the physicality of the man himself. It is a joyous time. In so many ways, we have entered without knowing, but in a way, I headed you in the direction of what I call universal community, in the universal knowledge, and now you have to understand, in the space, physicality of the man is totally irrelevant. I gave you a hint about this in the past couple of weeks of teaching, but many of you did not understand. Maybe now you understand. In the recording of Lisa last week, it was there, but many of you did not grasp what it meant. It's your soul which will dictate the manifestation of your physicality. And in that process, it's your soul which will decide how and where the way you will manifest yourself. And what will be manifested out of your soul. Many of you will choose not to live with physicality. We have seen this before in other races. It shall not be suicide, but be collective energy towards the universal community. Many of you will decide to take in deep space, to be part of universal community, to walk away from the pain and physicality of this planet. We have seen this before. The outcome is beautiful. Many of you will decide this planet needs saving and you want to change. The ways and path should be laid out by your soul and by no other means. The man has to understand the path to his soul is the path to his physicality in the dimension of universe. When you accept the physicality condition of this planet, you're conditioned to all its condition, not what you want. This is what choice you have. When you see the first spaceships and the first shimmers and the first physical condition of the environment of the creation of a space, your soul will decide. Because it has to match the soul of the spaceship. This is why we don't exclude the world leaders who committed crime. It's because the spaceship does not accept such a position. I explained this in a very close nutshell with Tom's video, where I showed you, where I explained to you, if you look, all that hurricane has done, destroyed every leaf and branch on the trees, but there is none can be found in Garden of Eden, which has been created by fields. So shall be those who have committed crime. There'll be an isolating prison cell for those who thought he got away with it. Be it the world leaders, be it the common man, be it a child. The process is easy. As I said, I have completed my mission to take man across the threshold. And as of next week, you cross that threshold. The universal community will be open to man, and those who try to take the behavior of man to the space will find out there is no space for them to move in. You make Earth the prison of yourself. This is how it will be. As I said, we shared with the governments and they refused to share with the people. I think, as my mother said to me, and Armand says to me many times, you have a patience. And I waited 10 years. I waited 10 years to change the situation. But on the other hand, it needed education. and time has come that we move on. We do not open systems that only the Americans or the British or the Europeans or the Africans will have the knowledge. We share the knowledge accordingly. Do not let no one to intimidate you. Do not let no one to stop you from sharing knowledge. The knowledge of space belongs to humanity because collectively we are here because one upon a time the Egyptians put the knowledge in, once upon a time the Africans did, and the time the Chinese and the rest. Without the collective knowledge, we would have not been here and would not grown in intelligence. So shall be the knowledge of space has to be shared unconditionally on open basis to all. One of the cornerstones of this move is the abolishment of kingship. As of today, we don't accept no kings as head of states, as we do not need heads of states. We need leaders to guide us, leaders who see prosperity and peace, leaders like President Xi of China, leaders like President Putin of Russia, leaders who lead us to peace through the consensus, but not through lies and cheats as we see within the structure of the American government. There shall be no king, as every man is a king himself for his soul. Kings are for physical dimension, and now that we understand the level of our soul, there is no king, as the all souls are equal. I support heavily the Chinese government with the full technology, the same with the Russians. And if the Americans decide to join this path, we support them too. The knowledge will be spread amongst Christians, the Muslims, the Jews, and Buddhists, and the rest, on equal measure. I have asked the Chinese community to bring in next week in what they have shared, what they understood, and how they can help humanity. The same I've done from South American team. The same I've done from the Europeans, and the same has been done from the Asians. And the same has been done from Africans. When it comes to the teaching of next week, we all bring the beauty of each continent, and in total, we make the spaceship. It'll be collective work, and we emphasize on it. But the beauty of it is, once many of you start taking shape and seeing your spaceships and developing it, the governments will move in, and then the Earth Council governs peace in exchange for space knowledge. The presentation of next week is collective of all of us from different part of this planet. We need to move on. And I celebrated the 14th. As I said many times, why I chose the name of Mojans for those who take to space. And in the book I've explained what it means. The 14th is significant for me, where I see the freedom of a soul to deep space, to join the Creator. And in the future, we'll understand why that day was chosen. Why is a weekend that as many people can participate. Try to be confident enough to bring the knowledge, and don't be frightened of what you bring. To you might be nothing, but to those who understand will be a lot. From next week, we bury all the operations of space agencies around the world as we open a new dimension that we all become man of space. We still accept collaboration and cooperation with different agencies. We still accept direct negotiations between governments and the Keshe Foundation and the Earth Council for exchange of science for peace, and setting up plans that the what we call damage is limited, and we can convert factories and scientists to think in a peaceful way and develop peaceful machinery than killing machines. It is part of our work. As I said, I have devoted my life to peace, but I know the strength I carry and the knowledge I carry will bring it, and we deliver it. The biggest breakthrough which has me, and I guided some to do it, and others will achieve or have achieved it independently, has been the creation of magnetic field flow. This is how the universe is created. With the flow of magnetic field in the plasma condition, where they slow, they create new conditions of life. But with us, we have a control mechanism to control it, so we can dictate what is created all the time. It's very much like a factory which makes cake. Million cakes a week, each one tastes exactly the same, because we have set the recipe and we understood. This shall be for man. The image, the feeling, the soul, the understanding will all be the same. Join us, and please take the letter which is released and send it as is on the front page of the Keshe Foundation screen as you see it. Invite every world leader, every ambassador, every scientist to be present next week to watch and understand. Release this on the mass media. All the newspapers, they have to know the change has come. And what will be shown will shock them. I have asked every team which is specialized in one thing or another to show what has been achieved. They have not seen it, they will see it. Doctors will show the extreme conditions they have conquered. Scientists will show what they have made from earth, environment. Agriculturists will show the change in agricultural dimensions and the rest. In so many ways, as you understand, is collectively. It's us who does, and it's us who's already set the plan. We dictate the condition, and our condition is very simple. Knowledge in exchange for peace, for opening of the space. No other criteria. This is what we established from the beginning, and this is what we'll establish and stick to the end. And now, in so many ways, the end for the physical matter condition of the man has come. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe, and I'll remind the attendees that you can raise your hand. There's one that's just been raised, and we can acknowledge you and allow you to talk. And Ruthie has her hand up. So Ruthie, can you go ahead there? You'll have to unmute your microphone.
Yes, Miss Cash. So, can we understand that next week you will
You
share
have
some?
to have e-telephone. Sorry, you have a speaker open. You got two speakers open or two microphones.
Yeah, I had to mute her there.
Ruti, please can you mute one of your mobiles and come back in again, please? Because you got an
Yes, I mute. Sorry.
Ruti is still there. It's still there. You have to switch off. Um, Ruti is the head of Keshe Foundation China operation. She's very close to us in operation and what we are changing in China. Um, she is heading Keshe Foundation and the Chinese community towards the peaceful application of the technology. Um, she is one of the most powerful women in Keshe Foundation in China, or most probably the most powerful women. She carries high respect by the Chinese community because she's so correct in her conduct. She works with us very closely and I respect her work immensely. Um, would you like to come back again if you manage to switch things up, please?
I try. Is that okay now?
It's good. Hi Ruti, how are you darling?
Thank you. Yes, good afternoon, Miss Cash. So I'm so excited that you said that maybe next week you will show some like radio achievement for the spaceship technology, right?
Yes. And you Chinese have a lot to show.
Oh yeah, I already announced them to send the video for what they had done for this like dynamic system and they scans food and medical gas or something. Yeah, so I hope I can collect some videos for that part.
Thank you very much. Do you have any
Thank you.
questions? Thank you very much. Ruti um, literally has brought all the Keshe Foundation groups together, and in China, she more or less she has the respect of all the Keshe Foundation supporters, um, and we rely a lot on her advice and the operation of the Keshe Foundation in China. Um, we have other people who are sitting and in a way supporting the Keshe Foundation fully. Nathan is there. Um, Cha, the Universal Council member, are supporting and working with us very closely. The new Shenzhen Center, which is now in the hand of Nathan, which brings all the Chinese scientists together to be ready and establish and support the new conversion of the knowledge into factories across China. This has the training of the workers of the new technology has fallen on the Keshe Foundation team, which is right across China. And I thank Nathan taking such a burden to see it through. They have to train many, many thousands of people in the coming time to be able to operate, to understand the new technology. And the Keshe Foundation China, headed by Ruthie, is seeing this through. And I thank all of you. The Chinese Keshe Foundation is made of devoted people. They live very, very humble to see the technology to bring the change. And I thank all of you for it. Any other question?
There's a question from Jay, who in the Q&A, who is he's worried that someone in their backyard might accidentally make a craft with this new technology that would take out a 747 full of holiday goers in the airspace until everything's perfected. After the blueprint, will all the other aircraft have to be grounded?
No. We will have conditions, we will have situations, and it's something that world leaders have to decide. As long as they don't make the technology criminality and understand everybody can do, It changes a lot of things. I was talking to a very powerful politicians very recently, and he said, "No, now you teach everything, and they can make it into prison. What are we going to do then? Escape?" I said, "No, you have to teach them to understand what was the problem that they got in there to start with. You got to change the prisons into understanding the social structure problem, not by packing it and hiding it. Uh, the there should not be fear, but we have to find a positive solutions." I always seen uh, criminals who've been put behind the bars, and they come out, some of them, because they train or they put together in a different way of training, as craftsmen, as artists, as engineers, where they get their degrees while they are in there, and they come out different. We have to learn where we gone wrong to create such a society that it has led us to this position. One of the biggest problems, as they see, is drug trafficking. Because I used to be part of the British government drug trafficking people who monitored it. We watched it, we found solution for it, and even that time, we always said, if somebody can make it cheap enough, nobody will touch it. And it can be done. You all know how to make a gas of one and use it for 20 years, you don't need to buy it, so nobody encourages to make. Who wants to make a harvest for something which nobody needs? We have to find positive solutions. Find solutions that we don't fight it. Fighting narcotic is meaningless when you can give and teach everybody how to create a better condition than the condition of narcotic. That doesn't come from attention seeking, doesn't come from destruction of one's soul, and then nobody touches it. It can be there. How many times you pass the streets and there are everything on the shelves you can take free, or you do you take everything? No, because you don't need. We have to educate ourselves. If I tell you there are conditions in the universe millions of times worse than narcotic for the soul of the man to elevate itself higher, nobody touches it because they don't know when they get higher how they're going to handle it. It's the freedom which brings the behavior, not the control. And the human race has chosen the wrong way. We always punished where we should have given the freedom and explained the condition of people walk away from it. And then when we understand how we can satisfy the needs, I feel sorry for all the drug traffickers that have nothing to live with very, very soon. You will see. Because people don't look at the elevation of physicality, but they look at the elevation of their soul, and there's nothing in it that they can give that to them. It's a very, very strange game change. Next week, there will be beginning of new style of life. You, all of us have that freedom. We still build the factories. We are still committed because till the most of the people understand it, it will be tens of years. Secondly, not everybody will have the same sense to do it because they want to do something else. They want to have the freedom. The beauty of it is, from now on, what I said to you before makes a lot of sense. We'll work to live at the moment. In the coming time, we'll live to work, to do what we enjoy to do as work. We'll queue up to do things, where now we find every excuse not to do things. Those of you who committed to the coin, you will understand what you've done and how positive you have changed and you're changing. This is very important. We will draw the coins very shortly, and then you understand why and who has bought and what is the conditions and what changes will bring. We understand the setting up of the factories and what they will bring. The condition is there to change. Um, the the there was a, and it's still going on, an experiment in Saudi Arabia where one guy left the freezer outside his house. Whatever he had, he didn't need to put it there for anybody else to use it. And then now a lot of nations have followed it. A lot of people do it in different ways and aspects. And then the beauty of it was that everybody looked that they're gonna take and there'll be nothing left. But what has happened in most of the cases, the others have brought even the ones they don't have much, what they don't need, and put it there for somebody might use it. Man finds balance very, very quickly when he sees justice. And this is the time of justice. It was promised in the old time and now we fulfill it. When we don't need to steal, when we don't need to do things to survive, we become correct in conduct. Now we'll see it. We shall see very, very quickly. We have abolished and demolished the borders as of next week. Invite the world leaders, invite every ambassador to be ready. Go on the internet and spread the word everywhere. 15th, 14th and the 15th of April, the spaceship program will be shown. How to make things, people will see. I've asked our teams to show what they can, what they have done, that it shocks the humanity to next move. How it can be done, they have not seen. But it's there, inform all the press. It will be shown for 2 days. Just 1 second, please. The beauty of the process is that we can all change the conditions and we need to inform the people what is to come. We should not expect a fear of what they might do. They should have the fear of how they've been sidelined. Um, the biggest problem for a lot of people will be the medical part. The control over food will shock many, many nations, many people who've been, you got to understand, people have come and gone, shown something, or things are shown in the background or discussed. Now collectively we'll put together in a way that can be understood. This is the beauty of it. This is what we are emphasizing on. This is what is part of our work. Establishment of peace through science and technology. No fear if an aircraft passes or something happens, they will find a solution. There is enough time to do. I'll put it this way, when the first incidents or possible incidents happens, then the government start taking action. This has been always the position. I expect to see thousands and thousands of Mexicans in America and let them build the wall. What's the use of the wall? We've seen it happen. This puzzles us. We saw how the castles were made and how they bridged when the cannon came and when you could fly over them. Now why are we building a wall? For the rats not to pass? Because the Mexicans will fly right into Washington in 5 minutes. We have to find, as of next week, an international solution for everything we created to divide ourselves. The biggest problem for our world leaders will be how fast they can get together to bring mankind to the position of understanding. It's now, the game is over, it's all one. When the first flight takes place, when the first number of people, different part of the world start flying, the governments find out passports useless. As I said, you become a bird. Have you seen a bird carrying a passport on its tail? I'm a bird, I land where I like. I emphasized this in my meeting with the American officials when I handed them over the key in 2012. I said, we fly over your country, you don't have the system to detect. We, with the one nation is forced upon us, not accepted by world leaders. You cannot stop. The only way they're going to stop you making caustic is to ban anybody carrying wood. If you can make ash, you can make a caustic. If you have a wire in the house, you can make your ganses. You made your ganses, understand what to do. In the teachings I've asked, especially those who made the space fuel, clearly indicate and dictate what it is, how it's made. Then you're all free. During the communist times, the communist leaders brought everybody from the farms to put them in the blocks that they had no place to cultivate, that the commandant could control them. Because if they had a piece of land, they would have chicken and some food, they couldn't control them. Now, they have to ban a man from carrying a piece of wood and a piece of copper. With it, he has the freedom of space. This is the beauty of the knowledge. This is the beauty of the science of understanding. We force governments not to be governments and one nation to become part of it. We don't need world leaders. We need leaders who understand the world, the truth, the real condition which is there upon us. The change has come. Nobody can stop. No one can stop it anymore. It's over. It's checkmate for all world leaders, for humanity, and it's such a checkmate that they could not imagine landed on their lap. If you're worried what's going to happen, somebody make a mistake, what about somebody deliberately not to make a mistake and land and bring and stop any military flight to bomb the others and justify it? Why don't we look at the positive side? There'll be no more war because whatever you have, I have more. I have equal. Do we have to have space agencies, or we have one space agency which support us, give us all the facilities that every nation, every person, every man on this planet can go anywhere they like? The biggest problem we have created is we have made the man free. We have set the man free. And now we teach you in every aspect. It's the completion. But the other side is how you communicate with the universal community, how you interact, how you feed, how you protect yourself, how you travel with them across the universe. Don't forget they've been travelers of the universe for billions of years according to man. We have a lot to learn, but they don't become our prophets and gods. They become brothers who show us new dimension. They've been there. It's like when you go to a city and your brother was there, he takes you to show you this beautiful part of the building and the best restaurant there and where is the best sandwich and where is the best view. The universal community will give us that pleasure to show us the beauty of the universe. And then what's the use of what I said, fighting for a piece of land which was nothing? I heard something very ridiculous once from Dr. Kostova. She said, oh, Earth is a high commodity property, that's why you lot come here to take. If I show you the beauty of the universe, who wants the dust of the earth? Not much on it. The universe is beautiful, and once we accept the condition of peace, then you will see the universe. The only path you need is to become peaceful. It will be accidents, we've seen it, we lost trillions of people in the space due to, as we say, weather conditions, hurricanes. But in the space it's in different shape or form, but we know In the path of universal belief, we believe in one thing. The existence of that accident was for our fields, our souls, to be given or spread across the universe to become the seed for another life. Is rejoiced, is not shamed, is not sorrowed. Man, because he sees, he puts the body and goes nowhere, he has never understood that he freed the soul of the man. In the universal community, the belief is different. As the life, as the field of the universe never diminishes and is what we call everywhere, then your soul become part of another, which could be higher than you. It's rejoicing, it counts. Not being worried about it that you lost. We'll have accidents. We see accidents every day across the universe. Some of them horrendous, but there is not much can be done. It's the condition which is created. We have it on Earth. We have hurricanes, we have earthquakes, we have volcanic eruptions. The same is, but in fields or matter states in different part of the universe. There is no exception. Don't be afraid of damages. Be afraid of the joys and freedom it brings. There's always a collateral damage. Always. It doesn't matter. Even in the universe, we haven't managed to control it. Because it doesn't need control. It means there's a need for a new condition.
We have a couple of questions, Mr. Keshe, that kind of ties in with what you're saying as well. Justin asks, will there be an implementation of immediate open file sharing throughout the blueprint? Can we find a way to speed up the information sharing for this purpose?
It will be as it is. Open teachings.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other way we can do it. Most of what you need as a blueprint is released in the patterns.
I was going to say that I had a look at the patents in the plasma reactor group last night, and just in the first paragraph alone of the patent, it pretty much sums up the whole concept of the energy and gravitational reactor.
Would you like to read it?
Sure, I could do that. Just give me a minute to find that again here.
The thing is, the whole knowledge is set in my patterns. The knowledge of freedom of man in a space and beyond in a space is in the patterns. It's just not that you have a knowledge, you look at it, you say you see it with a new light. Have you found it?
No, it'll just take me a minute here. I put that away because I didn't think I'd have to show that today. So just give me a minute here.
The principle behind all our teaching is the freedom of sharing knowledge. You'll be amazed how after next week so much researches will be obsolete. Many weapon technologies will be obsolete. We force peace through knowledge, and now we do it openly. We don't negotiate, we dictate peace through knowledge. Because you have to negotiate when you have somebody who is opposition. With this technology there is no opposition, so we dictate peace through delivery of technology. It's there'll be a mindset of change for many world leaders. A lot will fight to keep the status quo, but they'll find out their own people are doing it. So there is no status quo. We dismantle leadership, the wrong leadership from inside itself. World leaders will decide how to spread the knowledge, but the knowledge is already spread. We have made one condition and one condition only. Technology in exchange for peace, and sharing of the technology equal amongst all humanity. Who can fight it? unless you have a clandestine activities. And in a way, if you look at it, all what I call um, illegal activities like uh, Illuminatis controlling the finances of the world, mafia structure work, um, this all becomes irrelevant because the new money will make them obsolete. Their finances has no meaning, and the people who have everything don't yield to pressure. You will see resistance, but especially Masons will be vanished in no time, because the stock shares what they thought will be nothing. As we saw, if you go back, some of you might notice something. The day we announced the opening of the Keshe Foundation coins, 2 3 weeks ago, just watch how much got wiped out of the stock exchange. I was told 60 odd billion, and they started inquiry on the Saturday of that week, Friday of that week, after we launched on Thursday the coin, because they realized now there is a financial value behind a coin. It's the first time we secure our coin with financial means, which is the financial incomes of the Keshe Foundation worldwide operation. Science has become the backer of the currency, not thieving. Imaginary digging of what? People's life, losing theirs, and we see the change. It's a solid base made on the effort of those who want to participate. Just go and check the day. I was told, I was with our guy, he said, you know, the thing has been crushed, it's disappeared. But they don't understand the things we do in the background. You saw the war peace between what we saw with South Korea and North Korea and US and now with China. Just go back and listen to the last two teachings of 2017. You see how much knowledge and information was released that opened the hand of those who was creating the war. I dismantled it. Just listen. Just go on the Christmas teaching and the New Year's teaching and listen to what I directly went for North Korean condition, because we could see a point of conflict, very heavy, and look what happened in the first week of January. Because we took the backbone of those who are trying to create war out of them because they thought nobody knows. We dismantled it. The Keshe Foundation is very powerful in security and structure of security. The information we released was so precise that it shook governments. How come there was a war, they're going to launch this and that? Just go, just spend 2 minutes and go and listen to the Christmas and the New Year teachings and how we deliberately targeted North Korea, and we explained what was going on, and see that the hand was open. Everybody knew what's happening suddenly, and they took those, they were instigators out, and we see what happened. Sharing of the Olympics, accepting of a meeting of the world leaders with North Korea. Situation has changed because instigators are not there. We are extremely powerful as Keshe Foundation. None of you understand. Just go and have a, just listen to the Christmas and New Year's knowledge seekers sections to do with Korea and with Israel, and then you understand how suddenly the situation changed. My wish is my command, and very soon a lot of you understand. There was nothing before that day, and a week, 14 days later, change came. And I said, my wish takes 14 days to come. Go and take the extract out of the what we disclosed in December with North Korea, with involvement of other nations and how it was going on. Government listened to Keshe Foundation teachings very, very closely. And they knew the hand is open, they could not finance war anymore. It's not coincidental. How many coincidences you want to see? Have you found it?
Yes, I can read that description now, Mr. Keshe. Let me see here. Let's go back to the top. There we go. We can.
Oh, by the way, these are my rights. You cannot share it. I demand you to be wiped out. Isn't it true? This is what they do nowadays. You publish my papers. This is my copyright.
Well, this is from your patent application, so it's been
Exactly.
published already. Sorry.
Too
But
late.
yes, that's if this did go through as a patent, you can bet that it would be heavily protected by whoever did it. And what you did was the opposite. You revealed it by making it a patent application so they can't take it away, and it's still available on the internet that way. So that's a very interesting technique,
Read,
actually.
read it. I knew. What happened? They told me you cannot do what I said. What I said, I don't want a patent. They said you have to patent it, otherwise they take it off. I said, so what happens when I patent it? They explained to me how this works. I said, my God, it's a free publication. I better do it very quick. So now you see.
That's strange.
The thing is, one thing you understand is with this is important because behind this there is a nano patent. There's an application for nanomaterials. That if you bring it and place the knowledge from the wording into this pattern, the space technology unravels. There's a nano patent. It was given by in the key to the world leaders. If you take part of that nanotechnology pattern and bring it here and change the names and the elements, you will find the key to the universal travel.
Yes, I believe I saw the title of that patent. I'll have to see if I can find that again. I think it was mentioned in the second patent application. It refers back to a previous patent that we don't normally look at. It may be hidden inside the USB key there somewhere, but that's a big document, a
Yeah.
couple of gigabytes of information.
There is, if you look at this structure inside the core, this is a copy of the Iranian nuclear reactor base which the Russians are used in their new weapon technology. But it's in a different understanding. These are not coils, these are magnetic field flows in so many ways. And we will show the Iranian nuclear base reactor built with the permission of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad and His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran when I was in Iran. We show, I've asked it to be released next week. You'll see the weight reduction of the system from 7 kilo to 6.1. We, for military defense technology, which was tested at that time, we did not disclose any further than that, but reduction of 15% by adding few milligrams of gases is very significant, those who understand it. Uh, um, these videos of these tests done in Bruges will be released next week. You will see Iranian nuclear reactors operational in Belgium. These are soft radiation, they are not weapon technology grade. And a strange thing is that the um, Belgium securities and national securities were monitoring all the tests. And strange enough, I found a video yesterday. I was looking at it, that the guy from the Belgium whose hand is damaged is very actively with a good hand is videoing it. It's very, very strange. Because we did it in a very, they gave us a secure place where we could test and they could watch everything they wanted to watch. And it's strange, this Iranian space reactor, which is exactly 10 years old now, will be shown in public. You see the weight reductions, stage by changing this very, very micrograms of gases where the plasma takes over. The space reactors, nuclear material, nuclear technology in the soft radiation is very, very powerful. But to create a three-dimensional effect, the skin is not that easy. But with the GAN systems, you have that because you can create different condition of the strength of GANs. And but it's a safe way. You will see it next week. It creates the essential winds, but in a safe way that every man can use it. Oh, this brings back many memories. Go on, read it. What you were trying to.
Yes, let me read the first paragraph here. Okay, just to refer, just to let people know, this is the European patent application, EP 1770717A1 from 2007, it looks like, the publication date. Gravitational and energy system. The new method and technology is described to create, under centrifugal and vacuum conditions, in presence of ionization condition, a turbulence, rotation, compressive, and heating of a gaseous matter is created in a reactor by at least one central rotative magnetic field with the purpose of creating plasmatic conditions leading to the creation of various magnetic fields, where at least the interaction of two magnetic fields would lead to the creation of at least one gravitational force phenomena. In
You see, just one second, if you can go through it step by step. If you now change that to ganses, which create, it fits perfectly. If you change it to two different nanomaterials, which are in a way releasing plasmatic field, it fits perfectly. Now you understand why I said if you bring down a pattern here, you will understand the work is the same.
So you're saying to put in a GANs matter where it says, oops, I highlighted the whole thing, where it says gaseous matter, you mean it would be
exactly.
GANs
Yes,
matter.
exactly.
But it would be the GANs matter without the water, would it not? Because you've been
We have
saying
shown the trick. We have shown the trick how you do it without the water or with water. It's still in a plasma condition. If you remember, the water we drink, the minute it enters the body of the man, it becomes a gaseous state, plasmatic state.
But can we
But
get the strength of the fields that we need to be able to get a gravitational effect with
yes, yes, you will
still
see.
with the GANs water?
Yes, yes, you can do, but you don't need a gas. There is a new technique I teach because one team is in that way going. I disclosed with them yesterday. I've explained this. The problem is you have somebody sitting in this platform who knows all of it, and he can't put it together, but he's been taught all of it. Armin knows exactly what I know. I've taught this man. He just got to put it together and get. There is a condition. You don't need any. Let me explain to you. Let's explain, because we are going to the space level. There is nothing. Can I share for 1 second and we come back in again?
Sure.
Yeah.
You want, okay.
You have to go out that I can share, or can I share? Okay, I share now. Let me explain this very, very clearly. You see, in the Iranian nuclear reactor base, which now the Russians have used in a different way, we placed radioactive materials along the wall, and then we had a second one, which is again nuclear materials are based either side. So
Mr. Keshe, I think we're just seeing a black screen so far, at least I am. Is that what other people
guys,
see?
everybody sees a black screen?
Yeah, you need to reshare.
Okay, now
There
we
we
see.
go. There we
There,
go.
that's good. Thank you.
So let me open it up, because we have to explain that nothing the Iranians did was harmful. It's beautiful what has been done. And okay, what we've done is that We created the dome condition. The Iranian nuclear reactor space technology is like this. You have to understand there were a lot of concepts at that time working, where we have a second. We don't have the rotation thing you see, that is, we went in the different directions, because that's how easy it is. We placed a number of radioactive materials, both on this dome inside and on the floor of it. So we vacuum the condition and we introduce gases in two directions, in two ways, into the cylinder. One comes here and one feeds into here. We have a condition of a motor running inside, so it's a total self-contained. The gases here, hydrogen was placed at a high level, that as was needed, it became a fuel tank. We rotate this section with, oh, it brings back so many memories. We rotate this section this way, but this one is solid, it stays. So the field inside here is different, rotating, than the field which is created here. I have to choose the right figures that you can see. With the condition here. So this way we created the two fields. One is this one, and one is this one. So the two fields are created. So now you have the platform, which is the Earth gravitational magnetic field. By a speed of rotation and change of the gas in any chambers, we could dictate lift or landing. You will see the Iranian developed space reactor. And what we had was that at the moment, at that time, we didn't understand part of the mechanical part of this business, which the motor here needed the cooling. So when you see the new reactors, which was tested later on in Belgium, we added a cooling system, rotating a tube into a cooling tank. We had no more problem, because the problem was that the vacuum condition would not allow. We used to get a matching of the fields and we had problem with it. So you will see, for example, we in one test we started with a 7 kilogram loading. We go to 6.5, 6.3, 6.1, by literally adding 1 milligram of gas. Now, if you look why it moves, this is what I was explaining to our team yesterday, and I'm sure they couldn't understand 2 days ago, is if you look at it, here, there's a dome. The reason for it is there's a dome here too. So, what we used to create, which I'm sure our team will kick themselves in a minute, is we created the magnetic field flow. But with the interaction with this dome, which is fully nano-coated, Arman has seen this, people who were in the Sensana have seen this, this is fully nano-coated, what I call deep nano-coating. The fields had to break and created their own shield. And this is the problem our team have at the moment, which cannot break this. With a nano-material coating of, with a specific way, I created the dome that these fields broke and the two fields had to interact. You had a gravitational field landing on Earth. If you can add 1 milligram, less than 1 milligram of gas, and lose about 15% weight, then you see we achieve full lift with the military conditions that we're looking for to develop. But the next step is, this is a dynamic field. What do you do in a rotor, in a generator? You create a dynamic field, and then you have a matters like copper, brushes or whatever, coils, and you collect the energy. So this system is automatically a generator. Depends how you slow it down and what. This becomes like a soul of the man, and then these become
the emotions. It's all the same. It's all the same. At this level here, you eradicate cancer. At this level here, you eradicate Alzheimer's. We have to understand this now. This is the body of the man. You have your chakras. It's no different. I have replicated it, but you don't want to see it. Is your problem, not mine. I know the secret of the creation in the universe. I am the beginning, I am the end. And man is very lucky to have this time. This shows our love for mankind, that we spend so much time here to get it right. Everything is written in the language that man can understand. Iranians could, now the Russians have developed it in a further condition. When you go down, when you create lift, how many kilometers of walls do you want to make between Mexico and the United States? What a shame. That's what I tell you, American scientists have no clue. They are very much, as we say, fur coats, no knickers in English. Which means they think they are wearing a fur coat, but they have nothing underneath. There's a hollow as an egg which is rotten. Now it's time to change. Carry on. Read the rest of it, please.
Okay. Bring it up in the screen here again.
If you change the same thing as a GANs, you have the same position. But now, instead of creating, needing those nuclear materials in the reactor, you have brought in the condition of the GANs condition. It's the same, but it's of a bigger spectrum, higher spectrum strength. With GANs, we have a bigger spectrum, but much open. You have to squeeze it to get it moving, to open up. It's very much like, you know, you have a plastic bag and you put so much in it and you squeeze it and suddenly erupts. You need to do that with it, and it opens up, and then it creates ignition, and you do the same thing. I explained this, those of you who complained that you lost some balls and whatever, you reached this point but never understood. Arman has been on the verge of flying so many times and he just let it go. I don't say anything because I'm a monitor. I've done, delivered, made a copy. So now other teams are reaching the same point. You will see when we release this reactor, what you see, in reality, you will see it on Saturday, Sunday next week. We bring the Iranian nuclear reactor videos test in Bruges. I thank the Iranian government and sincerely thank his office of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad and Minister Ayatollah Khamenei to allowing this reactor to even come out of Iran. No nation does this. No nation does this unless it's a peaceful nation. You will see it. You'll see the full operate test reactor. The test that these are test reactors made. You've seen them on the floor. Now you see them operational. Just 2009, after I came from Iran, we carried with the test. Belgians, European, Americans were watching it that the information doesn't leak out. And every time they saw us close, they planned the next murder. They thought they can steal it, but never understood the key wasn't there. The key was somewhere else. This pattern is a total pattern for any space. When you go to deeper space, you will see these kind of reactors very simply, because it's used for creation of matter. These kind of physical reactors, then is fixed. That matter in that condition will be fixed. Our scientific team will show you how they've been making materials in the same way. These are research centers owned and run by the Keshe Foundation. None of you contributes a penny to the foundation. You come and take, but we spend everything we have on developing new technologies. All of you come and in a way
You become thief of the night. Just take and do something, never put back. Well, I see much of it. I don't say much, but I want to see how many of you ever passed the point. You don't even share with nobody else. We have a situation now in Austria, and we seen in Germany. They came and they stole from everybody else, and now they're begging for the bread, where they were making tens of thousands a week out of the foundation. They didn't even give it to the Germans who could need it to save. Learn with this technology. If you don't share, you're taken away from you. Because you're taking from the totality and you cannot do. Carry on, please.
Okay. So we are at the interaction of two magnetic fields which lead to the creation of at least one gravitational force phenomena. And I'll continue with, in a reactor embodiment, a chain of energetic events is created via a rotative magnetic initiation of a basic ionization of a gas, such as hydrogen, which then triggers a controllable chain of energy transfers, scintillation, to the next following layers of introduced gases, such as helium, neon, argon, krypton, and xenon.
Okay. Now, just change these gases according to the mass to hydrogen, deuterium, and tritium. You get the same. You get exactly the same. You get the interaction of the fields, which due to the atomic strength mass create different condition. One is slower, one is faster, and the interaction between the three gives you gravitational and magnetical at the same time in the same plasma, in the same gas energy. But there is something which most of you have not followed, and I was explaining to our people. You put in your gas reactors, where you put your gases, an empty ball, a hollow ball. You always fill the reactors, and I go back in all the teachings I refer to, even to the research groups. Put an empty ball in. What's going to happen? I'm going to take from you again, so I'm going to share for you to understand. If you can, I don't know how we can go half and half, that we can compare these two. I'll go this way. You understand the picture you just had. If you
could draw on the picture if you wish to, Mr. Keshe. I think you can annotate directly if you like.
Okay, you take over, I annotate. That'll be very nice if you can. I'll stop sharing and you just open the picture, please.
Okay.
Open your pattern because I took out.
There is some white space on it there, or I can make it smaller as well.
No, open it. You open it.
Whoops,
You
I
open
thought that's here. Just a minute.
Open the page.
Is that there? That should be sharing now.
It's no problem. So let's do. I can see yours. I'm trying to.
I see you annotating up in the upper left part of the screen there.
Yes, okay. So what happened? Ignore these things here. So now you have put ganses in this one. Yeah. So what about, and I keep on explaining, if you put in a ball, empty ball in here. You remember when we had a high speed rotation of ganses, that it created that ball, the empty hollow center. Now that empty hollow center here becomes matter independent fields, which this is what you need. But the beauty of this matter independent field, because of the different variation of the gases you put in, has its own layers inside. You come back to the same independent field flow. Those of you who lost the ball, those of you who could see field knowing, if you put a field flow internally empty one, now it's not the gases which do the work, it's the field which is created in this cavity which becomes, you become independent of matter, and none of you see this. And it still will be in layers, and then you dictate how you want to fly. Nothing has changed. Here you use gases, argon and whatever. There you change it to the gas of hydrogen, helium, well, hydrogen, tritium and deuterium. It's the same. I couldn't do it through the nuclear, but these guys didn't know I come from the origin of the creation in the sense of the universe. I know everywhere to do. I went to the GANs. And if you stop me with the GANs, I'll show you something else which you're going to kick yourself more. Much easier than GANs, but much more powerful. So in a way, if you look with your GANs balls, where you put an empty ball in, the material stays outside. The center is hollow and the fields. And it's the same as whatever is outside, in layers by layers. Now, change this hollow center in the shape of a man. Now you see how the soul of the man can fly. And you have this, it's called the brain of the man. You don't need a spaceship. Man needs something, a gadget to see it shows. You have it. Either way, there is no difference if you look next to each other. That's why we taught you all three levels. Matter state, Gans state, and the soul of the man is exactly the same. You have to understand this, then you can work. That's why I said to those who work with the dynamic systems in the space, so drop empty ball in, they say, why empty ball? This is what it does, it becomes your reactor, it becomes independent matter energy. We have this in the center of the earth, we have the same thing in the center of the sun. Centrifuge. Centrifuge does not mean only for matter state, it's the same with the GANs and the same with the gas. The same with the plasma. But then the plasma dictates its own field. As I said to Arman, you lost 2 of your balls because you didn't understand what you did with it. And then the same thing is when you do a space reactor technology, when you put the hydrogen here, or whatever you call deuterium and tritium, whatever you do in here or whatever, you need to put the spot of the other one in the other one, that they all have a line to connect, otherwise they have nowhere, they go everywhere till they find. You need this one spot, one drop. Drop of what you have here and here and here, you need in here, and what you have there, you need a drop in the others. That you line up the connection, and then they follow. And then you have the 3 layers of the fields, it gives you physicality. Space technology is so complete that I don't know why you don't see it. None of you is following it. Space is there, but when you have that field flow, then how do you want to cut it? In what angle gives you 1 kilowatt, 1 megawatt? You can put a satellite on the top, is in this pattern, ready to go further down. One city needs 1 satellite, the rest will cut. You put a cutter in your fridge and your freezer. You make a field that as you walk, your soul receives the energy you need. You don't need to eat. You don't need to waste your time to slave, to live, to survive. You go on the beach, you're happy to make something, you make something. Nobody can take it away from you. And then everything else which goes with it. From next week on, if you understand this, what is on the, even what is here on this page, borders are finished. We have become one nation. We have no choice. I can fly into center of Washington, and if some of you will go very clever, you can do, you will do, a lot of people will do, you will sit in the White House in the Oval Office and let the president tell you why he's killing. This is the potential of this position. Respect out of equality, not respect out of fear. We all become equal, there is no choice. And unfortunately, everything is on the net. We have released enough, as I said many times. They left me free for too long, to write too much, to teach too freely, to be too independent, to be able to deliver peace. And we are there. Next week you will see it as collectively, which hits very hard. And then it comes to the point, do we need? And you just decide what way you do it. If the interaction of the field of the soul of the man leads to the physicality of the man, what shouldn't do your reactors? It's the limitation of understanding, not the facts. I'm gonna put it in a bin or rub it off. There we are. Carry on, please. Are you there?
Okay. Yes, I just had to find the microphone switch. Let me continue. So we were with the controllable chain of energy transfers, scintillation, to the next following layers of introduced gases such as helium, neon, argon, krypton, and xenon, of all other introduced elements of the periodic table such as lithium, beryllium, potassium, calcium, titanium, platinum, etc., and or their introduced molecule combinations such as a vapor. A central column has a magnetic means to start the process. Various concepts, applications, and products are disclosed, such as space travel and atomic welding. And we have a picture of the main picture of the processes inside the reactor, although there's several drawings involved. I'll just skim through them here and pan through.
It's all the same. You see, just change those things with what do you call it?
These things indicate gases, I think, the 15
Yes, different
and
gases,
15.
yeah.
They're like tubes of gases that get injected, but they
Yeah.
could be ganses, you're saying, rather than.
Yeah, you can do. You see, if you look here, very interesting. Because we want this thing has been built. This reactor was built in Iran in a very special way. The original one was built in Belgium. If you look, this gas, which is the lightest and it goes, or the heaviest and it goes where it goes, is hydrogen is introduced through here. I've got to get this off. I've got to go here. You see, the hydrogen is fitted there to this one. And then the other heavier gas, if you look, comes through a tube here. This is the tube for it. And this is how it's been organized to have different gases to be fed in at different layer which they were. So we could control if there is helium passing this boundary, we could extract it and add the next one to compress it. Because by compressing the field, you can create a stronger field. Magnetic gravitational. So we needed to increase the neon or argon. Argon is a radioactive material. Under compression it creates centralization, and because you have the helium, then leads to creation of hydrogen. But in these places, with this system, you don't need nuclear material, because with the compression of the helium and neon or argon, they release a material which ionizes the hydrogen into a plasma. That's why they were used. And the hydrogen has different strength. You have a hydrogen, you have tritium, or you have deuterium. So each layer could handle to create the condition. If you look at all these gases, what we use is for creation of centralization, for ionization of the hydrogen into plasma. So here we could dictate which one we wanted to increase, because then you can change the deuterium or tritium to what you want and create a hydrogen out of it. This happens in the upper layer of atmosphere. So you can do the same now with, you have GANs of whatever, but you keep this zone here in layers clear for yourself. So now you have that empty space. Otherwise it's the same. I explained this to Armin when we were talking in China a couple of weeks ago. I explained to him the position, even our factories. Our factories are hidden sources for space fuel, and we have not disclosed it. We do not disclose it till where the time is there. Our factories, even producing gases, are the space fuel centers. I developed it that way, but I let the management team to follow what it is, but I disclose everything to Armin. Armin knows exactly what it is. You are creating the space station's fuels that you can tank anywhere. The knowledge is shared, they cannot destroy anything anymore. Carry on, please.
Okay, I can continue scrolling through the diagrams here. First is
I'm gonna clean it up. I'll best your program.
oh, that's important to get that information. I did have a question, Mr. Keshe. You keep mentioning the empty space and the empty ball. And when you say empty, are you talking about a complete, more or less perfect vacuum condition? Or could that ball have something in it and still
The
be
ball creates its own vacuum. Even if you have air in it, will create its own vacuum.
But would not, what about the interference of, say, oxygen? Like, are we still, let me ask you this first then, because I'm confused a bit. Are we still trying to create a hydrogen plasma in that ball, or is it only the fields that would be in that central?
Only fields.
Ball? Right. The hydrogen is just in the gaseous reactor.
Yes, it's only the fields.
With the GANs, there's still hydrogen involved, though.
Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's the field of it comes into operation. When you deprive it, it's, you see, this is part of the teaching you forgot, and you need to understand that it. Oh, error. What are you doing there? You see, this is, if you remember. So you put a filter, so you go deeper in the strength. Now, when you put a hollow inside, yeah, you filter up to here. This is your filter point. This point. You haven't filtered the rest of it, so this sits in the ball. So it's the stronger part you filtered. Do you understand? When you have a ball, even though to you looks empty, to me and to the universe, this is very packed here, very, very strong. Then you have the next strength. Then you have the next strength. You understand?
Yeah, that makes sense to me, but when there's other things that interfere...
Doesn't matter, the matter gets pushed out. The matter condition of the gas gets pushed out. In reality, what's going to happen, even you find out in many cases in the time to come that this layer disappears. You open your X-ray, where is my ball? Because you haven't lost your ball. The composition of the wall, because of the pressures of the gases and the fields, have dissolved this into its energy level, not in matter level. They say, my ball wasn't there, I had two balls and disappeared. But it hasn't gone through the wall. It has converted into the plasma condition field strength. You
Okay.
understand?
Yep. Now,
So, pardon?
just reviewing the gaseous reactor, like we see in the top diagram here, with hydrogen in the center. If there was oxygen in that environment,
It
then
cannot be. It
it could
cannot be.
end up combining with the hydrogen to
No,
form
it
water,
cannot
for
be.
example.
It's um, centrifuge condition. It tells you in a centrifuge condition. Yeah, centrifuge has the same effect as the vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the heavier mass goes where. This is why we use centrifuge, or we use vacuum, or we use the combination of the both. When you use the combination of the both, is a condition of creating interaction of the fields. When you create vacuum on its own, it's just layering. When you mix vacuum with centrifuge, you force the condition of the interaction of the fields, which gives you gravity and magnetic. This is something that scientists don't understand. Maybe for the first time you understand why we use in these reactors both centrifuge and both gravity, what do you call it, rotation. It's a very important. You can keep this reactor, you can keep this totally solid. You just need to rotate this. If you rotate this, you get 1000 time force. If you can rotate this, you get 1000 to the power of 1000, and nobody understands this. This here touches the center. This here plays with the boundary. This is why in all the tests, I've said this to Ahmed so many times, even in the testing the Sensano. Here, when you mix here in the center, when you have a wings on your balls and you're rotating, you are mixing of higher order. Here, when you rotate this, you are rotating of the weaker order. Here you get 1000 times, here you get 1000 to power 1000. It's a totally different, it's a ratio, order of magnitude. And somehow nobody understands. I explained this, if you go in one of the teachings, I tried to explain this with the chili. If you put a mixer in the chili, how the odor comes and gets stronger, you can smell it. Because you go in the center of it. You try to put the chili in and rotate the bottle outside. So when you put a mixer right in the center, when you create a condition of field forces by using dynamic field flows, here is, listen, 1000 is this. 1000 by order of 1000 is you can go to the kingdoms come. Now you see you create a field flow magnetic pressure. These are the principles we have to, even if you get a free ball, even if you get a free ball and you just put a mixer in it and you put your gases here, my God, the power here is unimaginable. In the coming time, in the coming weeks, as I explained, I was talking to Stanley yesterday, the day before. What we are developing, and soon you will see, is in the patterns. Is at the moment, if I give you an envelope and I give you a check for €1,000 in it, or I give you an envelope and €1,000 in it, it's the same envelope. Yeah, one carries the paper, one carries the notes. Now, if you understand what we just explained, you need to make an envelope. You put a man in it, you put a cat in it, you put a box of jewelry in it. This is irrelevant. All you need is to transport the box, which is the frame of it. Is that envelope. The new transportation which will come into effect very soon with this development is, that's what I said before and nobody understood, go back into teaching. We can ship, you buy a glass of Gans in the center of China from a village woman because she makes the right one and you like to help her. We can deliver it to your village, to your room, directly, total cost less than 1 cent, because we can transfer the envelope irrelevant of what's in it. This is a zero time communication transportation. All you need to do to understand that your envelope is not a square anymore. Your envelope is that hollow center. So simple. This is one of the biggest disasters for shipping liners. Who wants to stay 5 days on these high seas? Sailing will be a pleasure, not for shipping anymore. It's over. I was listening, I was told, Stanley yesterday or the day before we were talking, um, is it, was one of the main companies who does distribution on the internet, who is looking to get the best deal from, pardon? Amazon. Yeah, to get the best deal from American states where they're going to put their center. My God, this is obsolete, it's finished. I can deliver within next few months. Let us work together. Let us from next Saturday start working as a team, as one nation, without boundaries. You can carry a pencil from the factory to the school to be delivered, cost zero. Because if you understood what I explained and what is there, and it's in the patent, is the envelope you deliver, and the envelope now has no mass condition. Inside it, it sits as it is. Outside it, you carry. The game has changed. The condition you create enforces one nation, enforces to be one. We'll all become one. You'll be amazed how long it took for the computer to take over. You'll be shocked how the plasma technology will change everything for all of us. I can even show you how to make a shoe, the color, the size you like. You can go out as a Cinderella every day with different shoes. Every second changes as you walk. The fact is now we see it, we know it, we can do it. We enforce peace through technology. But now I open the door. The cat is out and you are the cat, not me. You carry the knowledge. I kept the cage for the cat to be tamed. Now it's tamed, I open it, you're all out, all of you. It's not me anymore. If you understand my teachings, every one of you become man of space. The race is now not one nation, who, which group is going to hit what and where. Communication, zero time transportation, travel across the planet. Let's see, none of us been to the North Pole. We can all go to the North Pole from tomorrow if any of you delivers. Understand the technology, understand it, you can play with it the way you like. Now, it's if you have a oxygen in the center, you cannot. If you have a hydrogen, it's the plasma which takes center, or unless you want to create an envelope that carries that oxygen, and then you play the game reverse.
Has the potential to create water then from a reactor with that.
Oh my God, why are you worried about the water? You feed the soul creates what it needs.
Right.
You're not getting the message, are you?
Well, I'm just thinking creating new materials, and in places where there isn't water, there might be a need for such a reactor on planet Earth.
You can do. You can do.
But ultimately, like you say, it's that voidness, that empty bubble in the middle, that's the important place where the fields are and where the key to the soul also exists.
You see, the systems which we have, you will see, Arman has spent a lot of time developing different flight systems. He's devoted his life to do it. And he gets more disappointed because he doesn't follow the path. If he follows the path, he flown 4 years ago, but he just keeps on jumping because he's 7 months old born, so he always has to be busy with something that is doing something. If he sits down for 5 minutes, look what he's done, he flies in 1 second, but I'm not showing him, and he suffers with it. And Sarah says, have you flown yet? Are you flying yet? Because it has to be learned by many, and now is the time. Then it cannot be shut. Man is ready to go through that phase because we had to establish everything in position. The most essential thing for mankind was the establishment of the Earth Council. The second most important thing was to establish the Universal Council. The third most important thing was the humanity is so tied up to something called money that we had to create a coin to link it to it, that they're happy, they have something for their effort which comes from their soul. So we established that. Now the government is ready to go. There is no reason for it. We just need 10 days of building it up to the point you will see how it is, and you see all the knowledge has been on the table. The top people in the Keshe Foundation will present their cases. It will shock the world leaders. Send to every ambassador, do not miss this. We expect to be shut down, we expect to be brought down, but we'll find another way to teach. Or they accept the new condition, it cannot be hidden. That's why even today I teach this way. It's my right, it's my intellectual right, and I'm right to share it freely as it's my right. You can hide your millions in the banks. I share my wealth freely with all of you. Shame. Shame nobody understood. The one who have less have shared more. The one who have more fear of it. Now they become a slave to it. As I said, this in the writer of Baha'u'llah's name. He says, we test the gold with fire and man with gold. And many of those who thought have a gold have failed. We just keep on testing. You will see the development of new materials. You will see the development of new systems. I'm expecting a news any moment from a new development that we have broken through the pharmaceutical beyond imagination. The data is getting siphoned by our people. I'm waiting for him to release it. If we get it, it becomes part of the total understanding where pharmaceutical will have no more power over mankind because you can do it yourself. So now you see you can put oxygen in the middle, it cannot stay. Because centrifugal forces, and then dictates that the heavier goes to outside, and then the conversion comes into it. And then you'll find out why water become not relevant, because the water will be outside the empty bowl. And if you put a drop of your blood, the way I explained, you put one in each other reactor, then the emotion of your soul and the perfection of the soul will dictate the motion of the craft. I want to send a cup of tea to my mom across the world to the Kathmandu, because this tastes exactly what she likes and I would like it to test a new one. Your emotion, condition of the system will carry it through. She'll have your cup as you were sitting next to her, giving it her. And if you understand more, you can transfer it through the soul, and she tastes, oh, who gave me a cup of tea? It's exactly what I say, I was thinking about you and the phone rang. Now you understand how you do it. Carry on. Do you want to read more?
Sure, I can go back to the text here, and we can see There's several more drawings, of course. I can just skim through quickly here and maybe it'll spur something. This one with, we were discussing last night actually about the magnetic fields. You're talking in the patent about the interaction of two magnetic fields.
This is what I call plasma field flow. This is what I've been explaining to our space team. To shut it, if they can bring it down, they can control it. And then you get your dome. In the Iranian system, we create a dome with creating nanomaterial of the higher order. When you create nano layers, you have to understand the order of the layers magnetic field absorption.
And where is the MF2 in this particular example?
It's a magnetic field 1, magnetic field 2. It's read the book, it tells you reduction between the two, one gives you the mass, one gives you the physicality. At the point where gravitational magnetic field strength find balance, it becomes the layer of the surface. You understand?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm wondering where the magnetic field 2 is illustrated, where it comes from. Is that from this central column that is generated from the
look
gaseous
at the,
layer?
no, you see you have the field flow, or you have each direction of flow. Internally you have two fields. You have the interaction of the two fields. In so many ways, if you convert this to the present language, you speak the magnetic field, the strength of 1, and the magnetic field, the strength of 2. This one is, this area is F1, for example, and this area is F2.
Okay.
Because as you move out, the strength changes.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you define it.
You can have definite Coulomb barriers, more or less, between those two fields as well. There could be a definite skin, more or less, between them, or a barrier, sort of. Eh?
Yeah. It's they created by the steps of, by order of the magnitude, they created themselves. If you look at this, it's all like the order of magnitude.
Sort of like
And
the core
as you
of an
go,
apple or
yeah,
onion.
as you go between different order of magnitude, you interact. It's like going from liquid to a solid. You have an interface.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yep,
So
yep.
that interface, because it's dynamic now, creates a friction and creates gravity. If it's on the opposite side, in pulling together, what is common between them creates gravity. What is dissimilar, it creates repulsion of magnetic field. So in each layer, in the strength, there is something important. Let me tell you this, because I have to explain this to our team, and you will understand what it is. It is, oh my God, how am I going to get this moved, opened up? Can you see this, what I'm writing here?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of you use funny terminologies. Very, very funny terminologies. I can explain it in a very simple way. You do 2:1 ratio in your paths, where you put your leg, your body, or whatever in between. Yeah? 1, 2. 2 is a stronger, is a giver. 1 is a taker, but at the same time it gives what the other one needs. So this is 7.0 alkalineness. This is 6.9 alkalineness. because you created the ratio. Now, you increase this to 3 to 1. Can you shut background if somebody microphone open?
It's Clint. We're trying to mute. Clint, could you mute your microphone, please? I think it's okay there now, Mr. Keshe.
Okay, so now you go 3 to 1. 8, 6.9. Sorry, 6.5. Now you change to 14 times. Sorry. Now you put 14 times more in this one than you put in this one. Now your alkalineness, your acidity changes to 2 to 14. You increase the ratio of loading to a further, let's say, 24. You can't see the yellow. There's a problem with the yellow. Let's choose a blue. You increase to 24 to 1. Now you go near 0 acidity. Order of magnitude dictates the acidity or alkalineness. Because you redefine it, that becomes gravity. And this becomes magnetical. The more you give faster, the less it has to give because it doesn't have the time to process. So it moves towards more alkalineness. This moves because it takes more and more from you, it moves more to gravitational or alkalineness, this way to acidity. Now you understand how you ratio load your reactors. And then by change of the field strength, you can descend or ascend. The same mass, you don't need to change fuel. And then at that point of change from acid to alkalineness, you get a friction between the two field strength, which is like a light, you know, when the sun rays hits the earth, you get that condition. This is why when you see spaceships that they video and you just get a flash of light, those are real because it's there. It's a millisecond and it moves. Because they change one reactor from alkalineness to acidity, giving and taking, and it changes the direction of flow and the speed of the flow. And then by the ratio, you change the mass of hydrogen or tritium, you create lift or descent and the strength. You go beyond the speed of light by thousands of times. Very simple. The interaction creates a flow and condition the same. The rotation of the light, you will see this. I've asked our team to demonstrate this. Then it's for you to evaluate. You got to remember, from Thursday, next Saturday, Sunday teaching, we are not showing you a flight system. We are showing you system that you can make to fly. The whole purpose is as many as you do. We are not creating carbon cat. You can come and copy carbon. We are teaching you to start doing what we did with you with the Maghreb system, what we did with the health system. You went to the sea and you took the water from the oceans and the seas to make the gas to help your wife with the cancer of the lung or whatever. And the other one went and took the water from the river and made to change the diabetic. You understand? We are the guides, we are the teachers. It's for you to do. We show you everything for you to develop complete. Don't expect next week to come in and see a flying system. I show you the uranium weight reduction which leads to the flight. When a nation is peaceful, has no fear of war and abuse of its technology, and this is what we see with the Iranian nuclear reactors, which is out. Nation is peaceful, knowledge is shared, and live by the ethics of being Iranian and Zoroastrian base. There is something important that you have to understand why the Iranian nation was made the devil, because the devil sits in Tel Aviv. Had to make it that we show bad, that they could do, destroy whatever they could. And unfortunately I come from that blood. And those even in Tel Aviv are not the masters behind it. They are the game played to lose by the others. They have forgiven. We force peace through this knowledge, and then you have to understand how peace is done. Very soon we will see Iran and Israel sitting on the negotiating table of peace together. It's not the dream, it's my wish. Because now, as we see so many with this new technology, Muslims can land in Tel Aviv that they do not even count. There is no choice but talk of peace, unification of the whole lot. There are only 3 million Jews, and there are 300 million plus of Muslims. 1 billion will be in Tel Aviv in no time. Now you understand. We have no choice, because there are Jews who are testing it, there are Muslims testing it, the Christians are doing it, the Chinese are doing it. So let's see who moves out and puts the hand of peace out. If any of you as Muslims land in Tel Aviv, don't revenge, kiss them. Otherwise we fail. Greet them, and put them to shame. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You still want to carry to read?
Well, we can, if you like. We could carry on. There's a couple of questions such as, have the plasma fields any shape? So Soraya asks. And if so, is it shaped like clouds or is it shaped like waves?
Depends what the strength you produce it and what external conditions you put on it. The plasma environmental condition is the shape of the body of the man. Depends what the soul has, what strength he has, and what dimension is taken. The soul of the man and the lion is the same. It's the condition that it has been released and conditioned within the structure of the brain, which dictates the shape of the man or the lion.
What about the plasma of the sun and
it's the same. We don't see the
planet?
shape of, we don't see the same shape of the sun till we go outside. We are inside it, and then you will see most probably has a shape of a man.
Oh, I see.
We are inside. We are not aware of outside. When the map move outside and can see at the strength of the field, you might see the shape. Then you see the shape of the true. It's not spherical the way you see it, because there is so many parameters, condition is on it. You got to understand, it's always the same. As I said at the beginning, the condition of uh, Earth in different locations have dictated the color of the skin and the shape of the man, or the same animal is slightly different because of the environment. Because of the environmental conditions dictates the changes within the soul of the man's interaction with the environment. So is the same with the sun and the plasma of the sun and the environment of the galaxy. We are conditioned, so when we look out, it might look like a man, it might look like a tiger, whatever, you see the shape of it. The new, we haven't got the knowledge to see this in our structures, but if you look without a dimension, you see the soul of a galaxy. Each galaxy has got a shape and exists by that shape. Is recognized by the galaxy the way we recognize, and the man galaxies have the soul, the image, the presence of understanding of the other.
You mentioned the word toroidal earlier. Is that part of the shape of plasmas in general? Is that one
It's
of
the
the
way,
criteria?
it's the way we position the one center and three on the base. It forces such a thing. You create a tunnel inside because we need it for stability of the plasma, we need it for direction of the motion, we need it for everything.
So maybe that bubble in the middle is more of a tunnel than a bubble?
It turns up because now you have the Russians in this new space system, they've developed using it, and I can see how they're using it to create motion. Uh, the it's a very clever way to do it. I always love the way Russian scientists work. They always see the thing the way it is. If you give it to the Chinese scientists to understand the balance of the motion, and they get things done. But it's um, it's a condition of the distance and field forces of layers in respect to each other, and respect to another 2 or 3 or 4 reactors. If you move one of your base reactors 1 millimeter than the other, or 2 millimeter, you get a different effect. You get a cripple reactor, you get a cripple motion. Everything has to be precise. And then you don't need a motors. At the moment, the test done by um, the space center, I call it, there are no motors in reactors, 3 of them. They don't need to. But the field flow is very strong. They need to break it. And then the plasmas force each other's motion. On Saturday next week, we'll head to that direction. We'll be open so freely that will force lift, will force creation of dimension of physicality. It's no different. Because you have 3 different fuels, the interaction of 3 different fuels creates 3-dimensional layers, which is like the skin of the man, forces manifestation of physicality, or vision of physicality at the level of the eye of the man. But the beauty with it is, when we do the way it's been loaded by our people, it forces that no other entity can enter. Does not matter what the strength they come in, because you create a center point that the barrier is the same. It's just a matter of how you create field resistance, that to what limit you allow things through. Those of you who have created the 3 elements of the hydrogen, deuterium and tritium, please make a video of it. Show it clearly. We can use it on the teachings. People need to know how to make fuel, and it's not only one way to do it. Some of you don't make helium, hydrogen or tritium, you just call it because you think so. We look at it, we allow it, let other people test it. We have to show how to make the fuel. We have to show how we make the material. We have to show how to make the medicine. We have to show how to make the energy. We have to show how we make the lift and possibility of the creation of the matter condition. You got to realize something very simple. If we can show you that the matter can be created the way it's done in the labs of the Keshe Foundation, so it should be easy to make it for the spaceship too. And I don't see how you don't see it. Those who are in the research center with the materials, they should have been able to see something. They're too busy playing. I left 4 playing children in one center and they do what they like. But it's nice the way they play. If you have managed to create matter out of the fresh air, so you should understand how to make it that your space reactor creates that matter condition but stabilizes it to a shape. You see all this next. It's not a dream anymore. It's not something going to be done. They have made many materials, and you will see it. So when we say the field's torus shape should lead to creation of the physicality, the matter selection of the Keshe Foundation research have already achieved it. Why they knock into each other is good, because you need the expansion of knowledge. But they're responsible. We have a group which do other parts. I put all the finances of the Keshe Foundation in the back to bring man to this position. We still do the factories, we still have to do to feed the people. We still create the content, because this, we cannot change everything in one go. But we have to fit in that we create a condition of peace, condition of one nation, that leads to elevation of the soul of the man and new inventions. His Excellency President Xi has opened a center just on the side of Beijing. It's called 1000 year science center. 200 square kilometers of pure science village that lasts 1000 years. We are committed to development of this center, and Keshe Foundation actively will participate with His Excellency wishes. Unlimited finance to develop man to a peaceful nation, by a peaceful man. You will hear about it very soon. We are active, we accepted the position, and it's a huge 200 square meter just to develop new technologies for the next 1000 years to make man peaceful, as is the wish of His Excellency President Xi. Equal share, one belt, one nation, one road, one planet. I go to bed with those who are men of peace, not those who have the war mongering. Every effort will be made to see this 1000, what you call, science center to be developed. I've been there, I've been shown, and we are committed to it. And all this knowledge will come through there. You will witness to it. We don't say that the gravitational magnetic field center is there, the wind is there. You have to understand the other side of the Keshe Foundation research people team have already used that wind in a different shape to create matters. So now they have to learn from the others, but not interfere, because otherwise we lose independence of the research. The team in Shenzhen, there is guys in there who have managed to interfere with the weather. They have the system, and I've asked them, I want it to be made and presented next week. The new Shenzhen team will be there to do it, and it's one man's job. A beautiful Chinese man who's done it as part of the Keshe Foundation Center. They'll bring their technology, they will show it. Even if you can't show it, they show the principle. Every nation, every culture will be part of 2 weeks, 2 days teaching and development, and we all go together, share equally. I've lived out of suitcase for nearly a year to make sure the peace will come. In so many ways, I thank Caroline. Without her, it would have been impossible. She's one of the most patient women in the world, tolerates a man like me who devotes his life to peace. And she's devoted her life to peace. She's a gem. And I thank her for everything she's done. Not many of you women in Keshe Foundation would have tolerated and lived the life I lived to create condition for peace. But she does. Any other question?
There was a question in the chat. Let me see, how does it go here? Can we create this connection with the amino acids? Boris asks.
Why do you need to connect it to amino acid? Why don't you use your soul, which has no amino acid, and you can feed the amino acid? Why do you like to always work with the soldiers when you have the general in your hand? Don't forget, next week is not a week of surprises. It's the delivery of a science in the correct way. And then we'll see the change. Carry on. Have we reached our 3 hour time? Yes.
We have actually, yes. Should I just finish off the patent pictures there, and we could have a look at that perhaps to finish up, or do you want to end now, Mr.
Yeah,
Keshe?
carry on, and then we go. I have to attend the meeting urgent.
Okay.
Be there. Just go ahead.
Okay, let me take over again here. We'll just finish that up. I would advise people that they can look at the patents now. There's a link that's available. We can put in the chat here from the Keshe Foundation for each of the patents. And where was I? It was there. So we're looking at that last one. Yeah, that should be showing there now. And I'll just pan through here. Again, it shows the magnetic fields, a different viewpoint here of that interaction. Shows another iteration of the reactors, showing the layering effect and the field interactions. See the word plasma in the center there.
If you look at most of it, we what it is if you look at all these things, this is all field interaction, creating condition of field interaction, condition of the second layer. If you look at this design now, if you look at this, I'm going to do, can I still write? No, I got to come in again this way. If you look at this, again 2 cores. And if you look at it, here in the center will be another core. If you go back to the energy reactor we made in this condition here, will create it fields here in a plasma condition, and you have fields here in plasma condition. But these fields in plasma condition will cross over and they will take position here. of different strength, because it's different mass ratio. There is something important that in these things is that if you look at what is here, and now that you just understood the totality, is this, oh, we're gonna get rid of this. Okay, my rubber doesn't work. Okay, it works now. You remember what I just showed you, 14 to 1? You remember? Look at this. And look at this. The ratio of this volume to this volume, if you get it 14 to 1, you have the same. There is the same thing kept here. You got to remember, in the world of science, measurement, the volume difference here is the order of magnitude. Those of you who understand, it's very much order of magnitude, because pi stays the same. And don't forget, we are not talking about area, we are talking about the volume. It's totally different. With the volume, you move very much towards the order of magnitude, which this is what we need in the space technology. Because you're looking at the two-dimensional, you're not looking at three-dimensional. 1 centimeter bigger makes a huge difference. 2 centimeter bigger makes a huge difference to the center. And then when you create a plasma here, it's of a different order when it pressurizes the one inside, because now you have the same order of creation. So these are things, when this pattern is written and you see it, these are important things to understand. You still follow the same thing, nothing has changed. If you use a gas or a plasma, or the order of the magnitude of the universal fields. Nobody knows about the universal fields. If I teach you about the universal fields, all of you say, why have you taught us this for so long without wasting our time? As my little boy says, Papa, you're wasting my time walking. I can play computer games. You have not even, you don't even understand universal field strength, directions and dimensions. These things don't even come to play. Don't forget, I asked you to read some time ago the 7 valleys written by Baha'u'llah. You have not even entered the first valley, and each valley has its own strength and dimension of light. And this is just getting you to get into the same valley, that you understand. There is more to teach to understand more. This order of magnitude is the same. Here, if you look at it, this is the alkalineness, and this is the acidity. By change of the amount of the hydrogen here or here, I dictate the amount of alkalineness or acidity. What does alkalineness gives you? What does acidity gives you? And all you need is to transfer one to the other. Don't forget, as I said, one single atom of hydrogen can fill the whole environment, but when it fills, it takes the dimension of acidity too, or alkalineness. Because it releases more energy from inside to be able to cover the totality, so higher strength manifests itself. It's the skinning of a banana. It is understanding the totality of the knowledge. Any other question?
Well, I don't want to keep you any longer, Mr. Keshe, if you have a meeting that you need to get to there.
We are got under 10 minutes. If there is any question, then I have to leave.
Well, Dimitri asks, so if a reactor vanishes, is it the result of the order of magnitude?
Yeah, it's still there. You don't see it. Don't think it's vanished.
If we reverse the order of magnitude, it will come back?
Good morning. Now you become magician. 1 second you see, 1 second you don't. And I know the guy who's cursing me in the background, but it's your problem, Arman, not me. You should have understood it a long time ago.
Well, you kept me busy such a long time. So.
Listen, the other children
I
were not
will not.
ready. The others were not ready. You're too fast.
Okay.
If you love the children, you have to wait till they're all around the table, then we can eat together. Now they're around the table.
I understand.
You're welcome. I love you so much, man.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's a fine note to wrap things up for today.
Very much.
Yeah, there's one other question, but I wasn't quite sure how to ask it and so on here.
What's the question?
Maybe I'll try. It's from Yasmin. It says, when you said that Amen couldn't get a model that worked, means that we all...
He did, but he couldn't get it moving the way he wanted. Because the rest of the people were not ready.
Well, that's what he goes on to say, that we, all the humanity, were not in the path or position to fly. Does it mean that all the humanity now or put ourselves in the path or vibration that creates spaceship?
We are, because we have gained majority. By giving, we have received enough that it's the pleasure of what it's not a sacrifice, but it's a pleasure of understanding. And is there. It just needs one candle to light up to light the others, huh?
And
when you go to church, there are hundreds of candles. You use one to light everything up, and not candles lit and everything else up. So it's there. We are ready to go, but it takes still time, because you have to understand there are two positions will occur after next week. When we start teaching the space technology, the governments will join us or they oppose us, or the ones who have set the pattern will oppose us. The opposition will not last long, because the forces of the knowledge will force the condition. The majority of the condition changes comes because all these people and their family have a very big weakness in their body, which is they get sick. They, as I said in my writing before, the man will accept this technology not out of beauty of it, but out of the fears of its annihilation. You'll annihilate a lot of things, but those are afraid of themselves being annihilated. And we are human body, and we all get sick. And one way or another, we have somebody we love, being a wife or a mistress or a child. And then when it comes to their life, we accept, we submit to the strength and higher order. And this is the beauty of it. And we were not ready. We have many people in the foundation who see things slightly different or bring a different soul in, which changes. And the greed of the man becomes the blinder of the man. And in what you call, in our structure, many people have lost the greed, because the greed now is how to share more, not how to gain more, which is totally changed from the past. We'll see. We are there. Well, next week we are here, and on Thursday, Saturday, 10 o'clock Central European Time. Invite the world leaders and everyone to be there to see what has been gathered in past 10, 15 years. And then we start most probably with the most shocking one to get the full attention, and that is we'll show Arman. This is the man who's your problem, and then everybody will pay attention. We have a special picture from him to show. In the black, it suits him perfect. But in so many ways, we are ready for the change, but we are ready as a total, as a totality, and that was the biggest problem. The number of mass of people who are ready for the change and being around the foundation is enough to change the balance. We are across the planet. Chinese, Americans, South Americans. We see the beauty of medicine coming from Latino countries. You will amaze what they have achieved. You will see the beauty of science development of material coming from Central Europe. We'll see the condition of understanding the totality of the balanced fields, which is change of the weather from Chinese. And then we'll see what the Arab nation and Africans bring on the table, which is unification of man back to the origin. Everything is getting done. We'll see it. It's a beauty when you will see two Africanos from Africa will change the food supply direction. They work together, they're putting it together, and you will see. It's beautiful the way it's coming up, and it was planned this way. It's not just accident, because to unite we need all members of the family on the table. Thank you very much. It'll be nice if we can go out with this video which Lisa made, because the more you listen to it, the more you understand how much we are ready for the flight. How much the promised day of freedom of the man on the 14th of April has been promised a long, long time. I have one message for the Israeli Prime Minister. Become the flag of peace, otherwise you'll be flag to peace by the love and care of Islamic world, and the world will become peaceful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Wonderful teaching once again here. This is a great day for mankind as we proceed forward from here. Looking forward to the next week or two of activity. Just put a link in the chat, and I can do so in the live stream as well, regarding if anybody wants to do a translation of that document of the spaceship blueprint Day of the Mojan poster, then you can send your translations to the address in the chat, which is subtitles@kfssi.org. All right, I think we're ready to end for today. Thank you, everybody, for attending the 218th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for April 5th, 2018. And I think, Flint, are you ready for the Lisa?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The process of understanding is very simple. The process is, as I explained last time, I explained more in detail. We are created out of the rays within the center of the universe. In interaction and reduction in strength and division by the strength in certain strength field in collection of the totality of the expansion of the universe, some energies, some dynamic fields have come together. Over billions of years, these fields lead to the creation of what we call the sun. Where the plasma gathers together. The same process repeats again because the sun is the same as the energy center of the universe. Now, the heavier, the larger amount of the energy which is collected in this span of the universe, we call the sun, that irradiates out, does the same thing again. Radiates its fields out, and in interaction with the itself, with the fields of itself, leads to creation of planet. In that process of the creation of planet, the same process happens again. In the interaction of the fields of the earth with its environment and cooling and exchange with the strength of the other things in the environment of the space of the solar system, leads to creation of man, cell, matter state. And that itself, in coming together and slowing down in certain ways, as we call, leads to another sun. We call the soul of the man. This is the truth about the life and creation of the man. But if the soul of the man can understand and absorb and be correct with his conduct, he can become the strength of the fields and carry the strength of the field of the planet which came to this creation. And if the soul can understand with the same process, can interact, can be correct, can absorb with itself the totality of the strength of what it needs, he shall become the sun. And then the same soul has the energy that it can absorb within the solar system, within the galaxy, shall become the center of the universe. Earth, we call it the rain, come from and goes back to. Solar system, we call it planetary system. We come from the rays, we become the planet, and we go back to the mother. The same thing happens with the galaxies, with the solar systems, which they get absorbed back in and they chewed up back into the universe. The life, the process of existence in the universe is the same. It doesn't matter what exchange and what extent. So, what is the man fighting for? Why do we fight for something which has come from the point of the creation, and in the process it goes back to the creation? The soul of the man, as the energy of the earth gives the face of the man, the face of the earth, and that process is the same for the soul of the man. Our soul, in reduction in strength, in interaction with the emotion of the field of the environment, leads to manifestation of the existence of the man. But once it's completed, does it need the face? Or can it be and becomes free from it, what we call the soul of the man, be free and detached from its existence? Our soul is part of the process of the creation. The key to one question, who man shall be in the future, to be answered. As we saw the sun became the earth, and as we saw the earth became man's soul, what will be the destiny of the soul of the man now becomes free at the point of departure from physicality. Would it become the sun for creation of another life, or many lives, or correction of lives? This shall be, and this is how it happens. When you create a soul which is not correct, which is misconduct by itself cannot give, you lead to the creation of this next cycle of creation, which has started the wrong way, the wrong strength. This is one thing the man has never understood. You become the creator of another universe, another cycle. And this is what you have to judge within the structure of the soul of the man. What would I like that cycle to be? In the physical life, we create children. In the dimension of the life of the soul of the man, what that soul will create. If man has thought up to now, that's it, my end, my point, when I die is finished, there's as much fallacy that when the sun is destroyed in any shape or form, there shall be nothing left. But we know the part of the sun becomes part of the galaxy and becomes part of new life. So shall be the soul of the man. The judgment of the man has to be according to what he sees the future his soul can conduct to be. The day of judgment is for the man, not in front of the Creator. That what my soul judges to be and what shall create. Man never understood and shall never understand till can solve this dilemma within itself. The reality is very, very, very real. And that is, as we've seen, the energy of the galaxy become the sun, the energy of the sun has become the earth, and the energy of the earth has become the soul of the man. So shall be the soul of the man, which is the energy itself, another cycle of life. How can you change when you don't understand? How can you change the process of understanding if you do not understand the process of the creation? Do we need to extend the understanding of the man that what is the future he brings? We care about our children, what education they get, what they wear, how happy they'll be, where they sleep. Now the man has to be careful and consider what life shall my soul create? Because those are the children of your soul. As we see, the rays of the sun has become a planet and 7 billion children of it. 7 billion unlimited, which is growing. So the soul of the man will go through the same process. How many billions and subdivisions and sub-matter state of the physicality of the man your soul shall create? Would it be the soul of wars and conflict and forever killing? Or would it be the soul of this, let's say, solar system which is peaceful? This is the truth and the reality about the soul of the man. First of all, as I said many times recently, we never understood that the soul of the man is within the structure of the man. And now that we understood, we understand on departure from the physicality of the man, the same process will carry on as it did for a star, a planet. And the soul of the man becomes another energy source, a higher order, which itself leads to the creation. It becomes the star, it becomes the center of the new cycle of creation. This is what the human race has to understand. The cycle actually starts at the point of death and not finishes at the point of death. In so many ways, if one understands, is as the dusts, specks of dust came together to make the earth in the solar system, so has the specks of the atoms has come to be the creator of the man. And the essence of the creation of the specks of dust on the solar system has led to the creation of the man. So shall be the fields from the soul of the man which lead to creation of another cycle of life. What kind of life man would like to have to be created by the soul? This is the day of judgment. This is what man never understood. Now you have to understand. You have no choice. Up to today you were not aware of it. From today you are aware of it. You are responsible for it. Your conduct has to be to elevate your soul. That in elevating the soul, what you become the creator of stands correct in the conduct of the citizens. We don't give fairy tale. This is the truth. But as you've seen, the process does not stop with one sun. The cycle carries on. It's very interesting in how humanity now knows in fact to handle the fact. It'll take decades for man to understand, and then you understand those who become the tools of war, the tools of conflict. They have nothing to start with. They have to become the dust in the solar systems of the others till the day they learn more, as they cannot create a new cycle through their own soul. This is the elevation of the soul of the man. To be part of the creation of a beautiful life for the next cycle. When you don't have it, you have to become another cell in the body of the structure of the bigger, for you to be just there that you can done when you could have been the soul of the man. They say, do not create fear. I give you the point of love for creation. If you cared about your children on this planet to have the best, your true children come out of your own soul in the coming time. How would you like to educate them? How would you like to be when you are in conflict with yourself and the cause of so much mayhem? This is the truth. And the man will take a long time to understand, as now that we understand the soul of the man is an operator for the creation of the future extent of the life of the man. Whatever is gathered by the soul at the end becomes his point of reference of his own creation of his own dimension. But the strangest thing is, what he creates from the soul shall become the creator of the other souls. This is the beauty about the creation, and one understands it, understands no limitation.